Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest. Riker, we have some Toronto Raptors news with the NBA draft coming around the corner. The rumors are starting to pick up a little bit. It's been pretty quiet the past couple weeks, but we've heard this before, but the Toronto Raptors reports are coming out again that they're interested in Tristan Thompson. This is another big in the long line of big men that have been rumored coming to the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, both you and I expect Marc Gasol to be leaving, and we've discussed similar types of players to Tristan Thompson. And is your opinion sort of different with Tristan being a former NBA champion, a guy that is a hustler? We've played against him in the playoffs. Or do you look at him sort of the same way you did the other three-point-less big men?
Ben, I would prefer to become a fan of another team before seeing Tristan Thompson suit up as a Toronto Raptor. And I'll say this about him because that's overly critical, Ben. But ultimately, again, I'll say this about him. He provides offensive rebounding. And
he's a great offensive rebounder.
Yeah, that's a stat that it might get swept under the rug, but that is a very complimentary thing to have on a team that, specifically the Toronto Raptors, that it could be very well utilized, because if anybody watches the Raptors rebounding, specifically on the offensive end, they tend to all run back. Even if they're in position, they tend to just run back. But this guy, not only can he not stretch the floor, not only does he not play rotation defense, but he's also old. He just doesn't offer anything that to me is preferable to have on this playoff pushing Raptors team, Ben.
I'm surprised he sort of went that hard of that take, because Tristan Thompson, I don't think he's that old. He's 28 years old. Obviously, he's in the prime of his career right now. I guess what you mean is he's not going to prove that much. But 12 points, 10 rebounds, as you said, the hustle's all there. He's an all-right defender, a little bit undersized for the big man position in the center. But I think in today's league, 6'9", with his size and 250 pounds, he can play that position pretty solidly. He's had that playoff experience, and I don't know, outside of the three-point shooting. Now, right, he did shoot almost 40% from three this year, surprisingly. I don't know what that sort of means. He shot 0.4 shots. 0.4 shots per game. That's not a horrific sample size, 39%. Maybe he's elevating his game, but we're going to assume there's no three-point shot coming to us next season, but if he does join the Toronto Raptors. But outside of obviously the three-point shooting, and both you and I want a player that can stretch the floor and play defense, I think he brings that sort of hustle, that sort of energy that we've been missing, frankly, since Bismack Biyombo left the team. We've had it a little bit in Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, but he's not a real big man. I think there could be some value in him coming in, being a veteran, being a leader, and I don't know, being that if Chris Boucher doesn't develop, being that sort of safety net as a big man. I don't know what his market's going to be, what he's looking to get paid, but we're competing with the Lakers and the Clippers, and
Ben,
this
disappoints me. Let me just jump in and say that this report disappoints me. I don't know what it is with the Toronto Raptors and looking at these lumbering, unathletic, and non-three-point shooting big men. Jared Sullinger, Greg Monroe, Bismack Biyombo. Now you're going to add Tristan Thompson to the mix. Next thing we're going to hear a report, and Hassan Whiteside is going to be highly attractive to the Toronto Raptors. There's a plethora of big men with much less market value that actually have serviceable talents that you might be able to play in a playoff series where you have to be able to stretch the floor with all five players. Tristan Thompson, he's not that guy. And again, I don't want to understate his offensive rebounding ability. You talk about his motor. Yeah, he's probably a little bit more talented than Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, probably less athletic, probably can't run the floor and transition as well as Rondae can. But I would say in terms of, you hit the nail on the head. Veteran, played with that championship Cleveland team, has actually a really tremendous sample size in terms of minutes played in the playoffs. So you kind of know what output you're going to get if you compare it to the regular season. And it's pretty steady sort of field goal percentage. He's taken around 4 or 5 shots per game, shooting about 50%. He's going to get about 10 rebounds for you. So you know what you're getting if you get Tristan Thompson. But if I look at the composition of this Toronto Raptors team, what direction are they trying to head? They're trying to head small, athletic, shooting, and then all of a sudden you put in the mix that you want this guy that's the complete opposite and put him and plank him in at the 5. Makes no sense to me, Ben. I'm disappointed with this rumor.
Right, Riker. He's only 6'9". He's still small. He's still a small guy coming in. I don't know what you're talking about. He's not small. But I see what you're saying, and I'm in agreement with you. I really don't see him being a rotation piece. Even some of the biggest, Dwight Howard, who became a lot more mobile and athletic in terms of that hustle role, who plays better defense than Tristan Thompson. He was unplayable in the deep rounds of the playoffs. He was good against the Nikola Jokic's of the world, but Tristan Thompson doesn't even really have the size to go up against one of those guys. So I would tend to agree with you, but the one question I'd throw out to you right now, and we threw a poll of this on our Instagram. Definitely check that out. That's going to be popping as the free agency news, trade rumors come in. So definitely check out our Instagram. But we've had a lot of rumored guys, and Montrezl Harrell's been a player that's been all over Raptors land, all over the news with following Instagram things from himself, the Toronto Raptors team, unfollowing the Clippers, all that sort of stuff. Would you rather see Tristan Thompson join this Toronto Raptors team, or a guy like Montrezl Harrell, who is the same size, coming off a 6 Man of the Year win, but doesn't really have that playoff experience and that veteranship that Tristan has?
And probably a worse attitude as well, but on relatively similar minutes, shooting a couple more shots per game, probably getting those extra hustle points and shooting it more efficiently. Ben, if you wanted to argue regular season, then there's a real debate, I would say, that you could have between these two guys, because Tristan Thompson, he's coming off big money, but I don't think he's coming off a big season the same way that 6th Man of the Year Montrezl Harrell has. And the points per game that he did in the regular season, things that he was able to contribute on a good team, I think Montrezl Harrell is kind of on the way up. If teams kind of value him for what he is, he might command more money in free agency. Whereas if you look at Tristan Thompson, I would say he's probably on the way down. And that's what I talk about. You're right, in age. He's not old, but he's not, I don't think he is at the age where he's going to all of a sudden start improving or becoming a different player, becoming more athletic, whatever have you. So I think you can make a real argument towards what you would prefer regular season, but they're both equally the same when it comes to playoff time. They're going to give you rebounding, they're going to give you effort, but they're not going to be able to play a good rotation defense, and they're not able to stretch the floor. So I wouldn't prefer either of them. I would prefer a different name altogether, and then that's when we start tossing out these hot takes that people don't understand until they're explained, like Aaron Baines or even Kelly Olynyk. And so there's other options out there, Ben.
Well, we've had some heated debates in the live streams for people that don't know, and post live streams about these types of players. And, I guess we may as well talk about it. Guys so you'd rather see a player like Kelly Olynyk coming to the team, who seemed at the start of the NBA Finals specifically a bit unplayable due to his defense, but did end up getting on the court and having some big moments on the biggest NBA stage. Would you rather see a player like that, who is probably, as you said, probably lesser value because of the defense and the smaller name and whatnot, than Tristan Thompson or Montrezl Harrell, who Trez is coming off a 6 Man of the Year award, so I feel like that might be a hot take for a lot of people.
Well, okay, again, Kelly Olynyk, I'll reiterate the argument just so people don't think I'm absolutely lost my marbles, is that if you're going to be paying a guy money, to big money, you're taking away cap space, you're paying salary that you could be paying to other guys. If you're going to be paying this person money, and you're a team that's ultimately going to make the playoffs one way or another, I would rather pay somebody that you're going to have the ability to play in an important series, right? And if you look at a guy like Montrez, he's not particularly valuable in a series like Philadelphia where they have huge guys. He's not going to shut down Joel Embiid, right? And he's not particularly helpful in a series like we just saw against Boston Celtics, because he doesn't have the rotation ability to play defense on that end, and he can't stretch the floor, so they can play basically 5-on-4 when the Raptors are trying to play offense. Now, you can hide a guy a lot easier who's bad at defense if they can play offense on the other end, if they can stretch the floor, because now all of a sudden you have 5 shooters spreading out on the perimeter. And that's why I'd make the argument for Kelly Olynyk, but I'm more so making the argument for a player like him, because if you look at his three-point shooting compared to the regular season in the playoffs, it dips tremendously. It was like 40% down to 34%, and much less efficiency, much less minutes per game. He hides away. He's not a real playoff performer, so I know I'll get blasted for saying Kelly Olynyk specifically. Yeah, Kelly.
Not
Olynyk.
a real playoff performer.
Yeah.
You must have missed Game 7 against the Wizards, bro. A couple years back, Celtics versus Wizards. That man had, I don't know, it felt like 35 points in the span of 6 minutes for that team.
Listen,
Kelly Olynyk comes up clutch. He was big in the finals. I disagree with you on that. I get he's
you're talking about the
unplayable in some series, but
2016-2017 series. He played 18 games. He had 9 points per game, and he only shot 32% from 3. Now, that's not a terrible...
I'm just talking Game 7.
Yeah, but
as Skip Bayless would say, the biggest of moments.
Game 7,
when it's clutch
7.
time, I want Kelly Olynyk shooting my fate of the universe on the line right here.
You want Kelly Olynyk out there balling. Point of the matter is, Ben, there's guys out there this is it. And if somebody I don't mind if somebody wants to actually argue this in the comment section. I don't know if people are going to make it this far in the video, but I have a tough time thinking that anybody can rationalize that you would prefer to have a guy that lacks a bit on defense and can't shoot the 3 rather than a guy who you can hide behind 4 great defenders and can stretch the floor. I just think there's no argument to be had there. A player that can stretch the floor is more valuable. And so that's why I would say it's better.
And that's our team's makeup too. And this is the point I want to bring up because I think in most systems, most teams, I don't think there's a big debate, especially in Montrezl Harrell, about the value that one of those guys provides. But the Toronto Raptors, as you brought up, we don't get a lot of offensive rebounds. And that's not because Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, Jonas Valanciunas, these types of players couldn't get them. It's because our scheme is to not go for them. Our scheme is to get back on defense because it's less efficient to, go for those rebounds because it leads to a better transition opportunity for the other team. So Nick Nurse doesn't really want those players going up front because it's less efficient. Now, maybe if you have one of the best offensive rebounders in the league, it becomes a smarter play, a more valuable play. But so I think that's a big sort of knock on a guy like Tristan Thompson or a guy like Montrezl Harrell, unless the Raptors sort of switch their play style. And our offenses have been known to be free-flowing, 5-out, drive and kick offenses that work better when you have 3-point shooters on the court. So, as you said, if you can hide those types of guys, then it's better to, just keep the Raptors playing the way they've been playing, the style of basketball that's been best. And we saw against the Boston Celtics, Marc Gasol, who was supposed to be a great 3-point shooter, when he couldn't knock down his shots, our offense just looked brutal. That's why, the team played so much better when Serge Ibaka was on the court, because he could at least knock down his shots. And Gasol is known to be a solid defensive player, lockdown performer. So having a guy that can't shoot, can't bring the level of defense Gasol brought, I think it would just be... It wouldn't be the smartest of moves, but if they were the third stringer and maybe the Toronto Raptors organization is really high on Chris Boucher, then they're willing to bring in Tristan Thompson to maybe get you some wins in the regular season, or Trez Harrell or something like that. But I don't really see those guys really being up for that role, especially during the prime of their careers. That's
very insulting to them, I would agree, and especially off the money that Tristan Thompson is making and that Montrezl Harrell should make. But it's a perfect point you make with Marc Gasol, too, because all of a sudden he couldn't shoot, and now you have Daniel Tice, Robert Williams, Grant Williams, Semi Ojeleye, whoever, clogging the paint because they don't have to be out there defending the perimeter. And Siakam, who's already struggling to shoot over a shorter defender in Jaylen Brown, now he's having to shoot over 2 guys with a hand up in the key. So you need to have spacing. There's no 2 ways around it. It sounds like a hot take that Olynyk would be better to have on the Raptors than Montrezl Harrell, and people will say that's whack. But if you really break it down, it's not crazy. And I would say it's even more exacerbated if you think about Tristan Thompson, because to me, he's a poor man's Montrezl Harrell as of right now, just on what we saw the last regular season. I know he's a champ. You got to give champs credit where credit's due, and he's a tremendous offensive rebounder. But I'm a little bit appalled that this rumor is circulating that the Raptors are highly interested in him. Makes no sense to me. There's guys that can shoot. There's a ton. This is basically like the big man free agency. Like almost all big men in the league seem like they're free agents. So,
Riker, hypothetical. Quick hypothetical. Okay? Quick hypothetical. Last season, we did see Tristan Thompson, we brought up at the beginning of the podcast, shoot 39% from 3. Maybe he's been in the gym this whole quarantine. The past 8 months the Cavs have been out. 8-9 months. Okay? What if Tristan Thompson comes back with a respectable set 3-point shot? Would you be interested in him being in the Toronto Raptors rotation next season?
Okay, hold up. We need to do the quick maths here, and this is going to be very embarrassing that I play it out. But if he was shooting 40%, that means 4 for every 10 he was making, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying he's on a higher volume, he's shooting 35, 34.
but he was only shooting 0.4 per game. So that means he would only be hitting a shot, I guess, one every, what does that math end up being? One every 40 games? How does the math work out? If he's only shooting 0.4. But Ben, regardless, if he's only shooting one a game and it's only 0.4, you're only getting 1 3-pointer made every 3 games. There's no way in a hypothetical situation, even if he's just cranking up the reps of Ray Allen and Steph Curry, he's just putting in that work. He's not going to be the guy.
But Ryker, I'm saying, he on 0.4 attempts, so it's not like one. It's not like 1 or 2 he had last season. He did shoot a couple. Half the games he at least fired one up, and he shot 40% there. If that volume goes up, he practiced hard on it the offseason, right? We had an extended offseason. He's making 33%, right? That might be enough. That might be enough for a playoff series to get on the court.
No, that's hilarious. No, because, again, I'm trying to do the quick maths, and it's very much failing me. I'm glad this is not a math podcast. But if he's only shooting 40, if he's only shooting 0.4 a game, he's basically almost shooting 1 every 3 games, and then he's only making 1 out of every 3 shots. So he's only making, would that be 1 every 6 games? I don't know what the math is, but I don't know if that's, I don't think he's going to be a shooter, Ben, even in a hypothetical situation.
Yeah, no, we're breaking out Bay's rule here, doing some probabilities on the court. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the Toronto Raptors? Do you think they should go for a lumbering big man like Tristan Thompson, or replace Marc Gasol with someone that's more of a stretch big? Who knows? This could be all smoke and mirrors. Masai Ujiri loves to throw all that stuff out there, but let us know in the comment section below. You're the best to make this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Ryker, any last words on Canadian Tristan Thompson pulling back? Bringing the Kardashians up north?
Oh, man, we forgot to bring up the Kardashian curse, so that's just another thing. No way, Jose, stay out.
They're in the thumbnail, so shout out. Shout out Khloe Kardashian.
Cheers.